Aloha, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is John J. Prendergast. He is a non-dual spiritual teacher and the author of Your Deepest Ground, a guide to embodied spirituality, and also The Deep Heart and In Touch, all published by Sounds True. He studied for many years with the European sage Sean Klein and with the American spiritual teacher Adyashanti. He offers residential retreats in the U.S., in Europe, with his wife Christiane. Oh, that's my Portuguese coming out. So
Christiane, yes.
yeah, thank you so
Mm.
much again for your presence in our shared reality. And before we uh, let me see for this. I have a question that I always ask everyone from the very beginning. I think that opens up that this whole identity conversation, and this is very much fitting. So I'll begin with the same question. How would you introduce yourself? Who is John in this very moment?
It's not an easy question, right? Because there are different levels. Like actually, if I sit and ask who is John, it's just like what comes is openness,
Mm,
aliveness, awareness,
yeah.
loving awareness, right?
Mm.
Like that feels like the deepest truth, and it has this in kind of John inflection to it, this
Yes.
John tone, John signature to it. That
Yes.
that's all the other stuff, right?
Mm,
But yeah, there's something as you said, there's a shared reality here. Who
yeah.
am I? I am the same as you, right?
Mm,
We are in our core, in our hearts, and they're in our depths, the same being, veiled.
yes.
And we're here to unveil and discover that and to live that, right?
Mm.
With creativity, with love, with joy.
Yes, tell me about it. When you speak of that joy, yes, that's one of the, um, one of the components of being or the experience of being in this shared reality called physical, is that what's the point of all that? And the main question is who am I? What am I? What is this all about? And what's the point of it? And then for me, it keeps coming back over and over again that it's exactly that. It's kind of being in touch with this innate joy, bliss of simply being here. It's almost like a form of it might be like the deepest kind of gratitude for the gift of what this is. And I am aware from my own studies of Advaita Vedanta that it's it's not really like what we think it is when we talk about gratitude. All the that we're just using words. Basically, it's just being with the unknown, isn't it, John? Something that even if
Being with the unknown and being the unknown, and
mm,
and
mm,
and that kind of openness, that letting go, that sense of freedom
yes,
and spaciousness,
yeah,
we empty out of our ordinary identity, and that allows what's really here fundamentally to start to shine through. And one of the ways it shines
mm,
is with gratitude. And it's
yes,
not, it's gratitude for many things, but it's
yeah,
gratitude to be. I could feel it
mm,
in you,
mm,
as you speak. There's this kind of radiance from the core, right?
mm,
And there's a peace and contentment,
yeah,
sometimes a joy that's very strong,
yeah,
gratitude, um, and it's beyond reason. We
right,
can
right,
find reasons
mm-hmm,
to not be joyful or
mm,
grateful, or to be
mm,
joyful or grateful, but
mm,
this is like underneath that, right? It's like
yes,
causeless joy,
yes,
causeless peace, right?
yes.
Like the mind looks for meaning. Like, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to
Mhm.
do? You know,
Yes.
that's the strategic mind.
Right.
How do I find my way? What is my
Mm,
value? How can I be recognized as
mm,
having value? So much of our conversations are, do you like me? Am I okay?
true.
Am I giving value?
Mm,
But beneath all of
so
that
true.
is something much more primal,
Hi,
and
John.
and as it emerges, those questions of meaning and purpose tend to fall away because we're living from that and as that, from the unknown, from that
Mm,
radiance that is our true nature. and we recognize it. When it's recognized here, it's recognized there,
Right.
right?
Right.
Intuitively, not
Right.
just as a mental idea. It's a
Mhm.
nice idea, but it's like
Yes,
known.
nice idea
It's
too.
like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Here we are, very different people, very different histories, very different biographies,
Mm,
the same light
mm,
of awareness,
mm,
right? Radiating
mm.
different essential qualities, the same light of awareness. Mm.
Yes. You see, that's the thing. It feels like a song to me. Like there's something like listening to you. There's something that the intellect also appreciates. That's why I have these conversations. Like it's almost like consciousness knowing itself. Through words, isn't it? To the sound. Wait a minute, that resonates, and it feels like
It's
a
a
song.
matter of resonance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we can resonate on different levels, because we're multidimensional,
Right.
but it's beautiful to frame it as a song because it is a song,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
as we kind of let go of all of, more and more of the conditioning, we never let go of all of
Mm.
it, but increasingly we're free of it and free in terms of our identity. Our true song comes
Yeah.
forth, and
Yes.
here's your song in the
Mm.
podcast in your healing center, and my song through the books and the teaching and daily interactions with people, and
Yes.
a song that sometimes is in silence, you know
Yeah.
as well, but it also
Mm.
comes out in the voice, and it's felt, it's recognized, isn't it?
Yes, how beautiful. Yeah, something in me is very devotional to that too. It's like, yeah, it kind of gives itself to that melody, to this
Th-
rhythm. It
that's
feels very
true.
natural, very
there
natural.
there there is a self-giving, and surrender is very interesting and very
Yeah.
important, because here's where the streams meet, of jnana, the
Mm.
wisdom and love,
Yeah.
and as this self-intimacy deepens and self-knowledge deepens,
Yeah.
there's a confluence of these, of love and wisdom, and they really can't be separated. And
Right.
so there's this devotion. It's maybe it
Yes,
starts as a
bhakti.
devotion to a teacher or a teaching, or you know a person, but it,
Mm.
it goes deeper than that. It's like a
Right.
devotion to this,
Right.
a
Right.
devotion to this that we
Mm.
share, and that is at the core of really everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It really
So there's,
is.
it's
Mm.
called forth, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
that surrendering to called forth surrender, and yet it's very dynamic. It's not
Right.
passive,
Mm-hmm.
right? It
Yeah. Oh
has a
yeah.
very dynamic expression to it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Felt,
Yeah.
deeply felt, right?
Yeah.
Not
Right.
not just a dry wisdom teaching, you know, but really vibrant, vibrant in the body. And
Yes.
this is something that's very important. This embodiment piece to me is so important, because there are a lot of teachings about awakening,
Oh yeah.
and teachers have a lot of clarity, and
Yes.
real wisdom and brilliance, but it hasn't really dropped into the heart and below. That's the book about the ground, is really the below
Mm.
space, into the guts, into the
Right.
pelvic bowl, into the legs, into the feet, below ground. That
Right.
whole, the full embrace of our
Mm.
humanity.
Yes, and that's why your book, yeah, The Deepest Ground, A Guide to Embodied Spirituality. That's true because you probably have heard this being, I'm just repeating something that somebody said, but it felt just so true. Fully human and fully divine. So you kind of merging the two so perfectly that you don't know where one starts and the other one
Well,
ends.
this is it. There's often such a split between those two: our humanity, our conditioned self, our
Mm.
ordinary life, our relationships, our work, our environment, our political
Oh, yeah.
atmosphere,
Yeah.
and then spirit as some kind of formless, pure
Right.
consciousness.
Right.
How do they relate? The unconditioned and the conditioning, as
Yes.
if there are two. But
Mm.
what's
Mm.
interesting, as we more and more deeply discover this, we discover this is immanent, that spirit is immanent, it's within form, and
Right.
that form is an expression of it.
Right.
And so, yeah, where does humanity end? Where does divinity begin?
Mm.
What before seemed like a split,
Yeah.
like upper and lower very often, it's harder and harder to differentiate because they're not different
Right.
ultimately.
Right. So, what is the the difference it makes when it comes to some people, they have a hard time with this, and I had it in the past too, like this alignment. A lot of people talk about alignment. As long as you're still in the conditioned mind, then it doesn't matter how much of spiritual realizations you have gotten, you still will be unhappy and have a lot of issues in this life. So how do you see this idea of enlightenment,
And alignment.
alignment? Yeah,
It's
alignment.
critically important. I'm really glad you're in. I write about this in my first book, In Touch. Alignment is one of the key unfolding experiences and understandings, because
Right.
our relative life, our conditioned life, gradually comes into alignment with our essence, right? And it's
Mm,
felt. It's
mm,
felt. We can feel it as a subtle, energetic
yeah.
coming together, or something that has been off, in terms of our emotion, our thinking, our feeling, our action, starts to come into alignment. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's critically important. It's an ongoing process. It's lifelong.
Yeah.
um, if we've had significant trauma, if we've had difficult relationships in terms of bonding, if there's been neglect, if there's been
Mm,
abuse, if there's been trauma, very often early on, a misalignment happens.
yes.
A kind of split. We lose track of our essence. And we
Yes.
go into compensation, into
Right.
defense, into
Mm,
presenting an image, into survival, adaptation, and we
true.
leave essence behind. Sometimes knowingly, often unknowingly,
Yeah.
and that
Mm,
brings a grief.
mm,
Often, we can it's a spiritual grief. It's an essential
yeah.
grief, not
Ah,
losing someone or something. We're losing
yeah.
actually touch, conscious access with that. And so very often in our adulthood, if there has been that kind of conditioning, it requires a revisiting, not of all of the trauma, but
Right.
just enough of it, an embrace of it. And so this is one of the, because as you mentioned,
Mm,
I've worked as a therapist, trained as a therapist. I've
yeah.
trained therapists,
Yeah.
I was an associate professor, adjunct associate professor of grad school, and a master's level counseling student. So I've trained therapists. And so this is a big question in spiritual circles, right?
Yeah.
Because there is so much avoidance. There is
Yes.
so much flight into light, an
Right.
attempt to
Right.
transcend.
Yeah.
But if we're going to live this in our
Mm,
life,
mm,
that means we have to embrace our whole experience,
mm,
but not get lost in it and
yeah.
not get re-traumatized. How does that happen? There are many skillful means. You've had many people on your program
Right.
talking about different ways to do that and different levels to do that. What
Yes.
I have found most important is how we resource ourselves. That is to say, before we welcome everything, our conditioning, that we open as much as possible to a sense of spacious, loving awareness.
Mm,
And often, like when I work with people, often it's like,
yeah.
let's just take a minute or two before we dive into whatever it is that is wanting attention. And this is for your listeners, this is really an important piece that I would
Yeah.
encourage.
Yeah.
It's like, relax back,
Mm,
attune with a sense of presence, with a
mm.
sense of spacious, loving awareness. And from this, when we have a sense that you're feeling it now, aren't you?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I just
so
did
it's
it.
just right, just by speaking about it, just
Mm.
by inviting it, it's here always,
Right. It's true. Like immediately.
right?
I mean, instantly. Yeah. Hmm.
It's here.
Yeah.
And then
Mm.
from this, we welcome whatever it is that's wanting attention
Yeah.
without
Mm,
an agenda to try to fix or change it.
mm,
So this is a very simple but very profound principle,
mm.
because when we're trying to fix or change our
Yeah.
conditioning, it engenders resistance. Parts of us are going to say, no, you want to change me. No
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
Young parts, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so they'll resist that. So
Mm,
similarly with our conditioning. But if we accept it, embrace it from loving awareness with
mm.
curiosity and affection, very important,
Yeah.
with curiosity and affection and
Yes.
openness, now we've provided an optimal environment. We've resourced ourselves for our conditioning to start to unfold.
Yeah.
And this is what allows alignment, coming back to the theme of alignment,
Yeah.
to happen spontaneously. It's like whatever those parts that have been excluded, denied, devalued, they really feel welcomed. This is what
Yeah.
they've been waiting for.
Mm,
This is what our conditioned
mm,
body mind has been waiting for.
mm.
And it starts to unfold of its own. Insights may come, deep feelings may come,
Yeah.
energetic shifts may happen. right? Because it's, we're a bundle of conditioning as a human being,
Oh yeah.
thoughts, feelings, sensations,
Oh yeah.
and they're all important. Our beliefs are
Mm,
extremely important.
yeah.
Limiting our core limiting beliefs really shut the system down.
Yeah.
Our ability to feel freely, which your program is
Yes.
named, the
Yeah.
openness to feel whatever, and
Yeah.
also to sense, like the felt sense of the
Mm,
body. And
mm,
it's like
mm,
beyond that is being itself that embraces all of that. So if
mm,
we have that
mm,
approach and that environment, not grabbing, and not refusing, not like working on ourselves like we're a problem, but also not denying
mm.
conditioning when it arises.
Yeah.
You can feel that difference, right? We're not
Yes. Yes.
grasping, not avoiding, but actually being
Mm,
intimate with our experience, receiving it
yeah.
from this space of open, loving awareness. It has a way in its own time, depending on the conditioning, to start to unfold. And it's like a melting. It's
Mm,
very interesting. It's like
mm.
what we do to
Yes.
survive is we clench, we
True.
pull in and we pull up.
Yeah.
We withdraw and we dissociate.
Yeah.
Sometimes subtly, sometimes in very dramatic ways if there's been strong trauma. And
Right.
this is about like, oh, that contraction starts to relax, starts
Right.
to release. There's a kind of melting, and we
Yeah.
feel it as a, oh, a release.
Mm.
And we start to feel ourselves, oh, it's okay to be as I am. It's okay to be here.
Yes.
It's okay to be,
Mm,
in relationship just as I am. I
mm,
don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be
mm,
some ideal, right?
mm.
So that the judgments, the ideals, the pressure, the criticism, that tends to
Mm,
fall away. There's more and more self acceptance, self intimacy, right? And that allows a whole nother level of our life to open,
right.
beyond ordinary egoic identity. It's like,
Right.
okay, what else is here? There's a soul level here,
Mm,
something deeper than ego, right? Very profound,
right.
very capable of intimacy and contact and connection, and with our unique gifts to share, our song,
Mm,
to share, our
yeah.
dance, our
Yeah.
particular dance, our particular song,
Mm,
individuated expression. Beyond that, it's like this shared ocean of being with
mm,
all beings, right?
mm,
Other human beings, but all living creatures, with our planet
mm.
itself. So this is our potential, but we have to embrace our humanity. And
Yes.
so the more we
Yeah.
and as we open, our conditioning is welcomed, our system becomes more stable and more
Yeah.
coherent,
Yeah.
and our capacity to sustain this openness increases. So very, very sometimes quickly, but usually gradually, that
Yeah.
alignment just comes into place. you
Right.
know
Right.
Sometimes dramatically, but usually it's a gradual process as we approach our experience in our lives this way.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. I could
You get
just
you get the you get the
go,
feel of
yeah.
it.
Like that, that dance, yeah. It's very
Yeah.
gentle. Thank you.
Mm.
Um, so yes, that's something that I became emotional for a moment. The body, the mind, somewhere something was touched. That's funny that you say your book, you're in touch, right? It was touched by. You remind me of Sean Klein.
Mm.
Did somebody say that? Or something
Others
about?
have said that. Yeah, I mean, I studied Jean
I heard
Klein.
something. It's beautiful.
Yeah, he was not so well known in the U.S. He was well
Yeah,
known in Europe.
yeah, it's right.
He taught in the 70s, 80s, really, yeah, 70s and 80s primarily. He did come to
Yes,
California, and a beautiful man, beautiful
yes.
presence,
I
very
know him.
clear, loving,
Mm.
uh,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
uh, you
You
know, he,
remind me of him.
but
Yeah.
he's very, very European. He could be more formal, and
Oh yes,
he
yeah,
he
yes,
he spoke Vedanta.
yes.
Subject. He spoke subject to object, the
Yes,
language. So
yeah.
I was very influenced by Jean. I'm very
Mm.
grateful, deeply grateful.
Yeah.
If you could get me
Mm.
talking about Jean, and the
Yeah.
tears of gratitude will come.
Yeah.
Jean and Adyashanti, they've both been very,
Oh yeah, I'm
very
familiar with
important
them too.
mentors for me. Yeah.
Yes, I
Mm.
love both of them. They're beautiful, beautiful teachers. They're
Mm.
different in their own, of course. They all dance in their own uniqueness, right, in the body.
They do
But
very different looking dance, but the same
yes,
the same teaching.
Oh yes, right. Beautiful. So yeah, you remind me for some reason. It's almost like you're carrying the fragrance of his teachings and his love.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That touches me.
Yeah. So yeah, something touched like the feelings, emotions, because now I'm going through this process of doing exactly that, bringing in alignment the emotions of missing my husband. He's not here, and my dog. And then that is sometimes comes as he just doesn't want to be here, and he abandoned me, he chose something else, and then all these,
Abandonment.
yeah,
Yes.
that's coming up a lot. And then like becomes angry and says, not angry violent, but angry in the sense of, I'll tell him, that that's okay, just I'll be here on my own forever. So he becomes very kind of, he wants to say that to him. And then at the same time, I'm aware that there's a lot of trauma involved with my parents. Where that I had a lot of physical, emotional abuse as a child. So if it's almost like something here feels like, oh, you can't survive without them. It's almost like my husband somehow is becoming almost like this embodiment of the reflection of my parents that
Well, this
abandoned me.
is what
Yeah,
we call transference, right?
right.
This
Yeah.
is what we do. We transfer our early feelings from our parents onto
Mm,
significant others, right?
right.
Authority figures, partners,
Yeah.
absolutely
It feels that
transfers.
way.
And,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
couples work is about recognizing and untangling that. But it's good that you're mentioning this, as an
Yes.
example,
Yeah.
because I have felt that way in the past in
Mm,
relationship. I
yeah.
mean, I was fortunate to have stable, loving
Mm,
parents, but my mother was kind of, she was a little critical at times. And
yeah.
I was very sensitive, and I could feel when I felt her disapproval, I could
Yeah.
feel her withdrawal, you
Ah,
know,
yeah.
and I would try to shape myself
Yeah.
so
Right.
that wouldn't
Mm,
happen. And I
yeah.
and I took that,
Ah,
even though I felt loved and safe, I took that tendency into my adult relationships,
right.
friendships, romantic relationships,
Yeah.
and I'd find myself getting anxious if I thought I
Mm,
perceived someone withdrawing or there was that
yes.
possibility.
Yes.
So I just share that in the same spirit that you're sharing it too,
Yeah. Thank you.
Valeria, because this is very deep conditioning, and
Mm, mm, right.
at at first we may not be aware of it, we may act it out,
Yeah.
where I'm
Right.
angry, we may
Yeah.
try to change our partners, right? And then we
Yes.
then we start becoming more aware, and it's like,
Mm,
oh, I
mm,
have a pattern here,
right.
and I see that this pattern
Right.
came from before my partner or my
Mm,
friend.
yeah.
There's a little girl here
Yeah.
that's feeling, or a little
Yeah.
boy,
Yeah.
that's feeling shaky and abandoned, and one of the defenses is to get angry, and one of the
Mm,
defenses is to pull away and get
mm,
cold,
yeah. Yeah.
and I may go back and forth between those.
Yes.
And then we start embracing from
Mm,
awareness, from loving awareness. It's like,
mm,
okay, welcome in. Let me
yeah.
feel this. Let me actually feel myself abandoned.
Mm, mm,
Let myself be abandoned. Right?
yes.
That's
Yeah.
often our worst fear. This
Yeah.
is one
Right.
of the things I talk about in my book.
Mm.
Because your deepest ground, like um, we, what gets in the way of opening to our deepest ground, very often is fear. It's
Right.
not the only thing, fear and
Right.
shame and doubt, but fear.
Yeah.
And there's a fear, like, as a child, if I'm abandoned, I'm not going to live, right?
Right.
I'm
Mm,
totally dependent
mm, mm.
on mom and dad.
Yeah.
Or if they're abusive, it puts us in a terrible bind because we're
Right.
dependent, so
Right.
we
Mm,
dissociate, or we assume something's wrong with us, or
right.
some way to cope with it. But it really goes to a survival fear. It's
Yes.
like the social anxiety very often, if we kind of peel it back a few layers, like, one, what will happen then? My husband's unhappy with me. My husband will never come. My
Mm,
husband will leave me.
yeah.
Everyone will leave me. I'll be all alone, right?
Mm,
It goes there. It's like,
mm,
okay, let me go there. I'll be all alone.
mm, yeah.
In a sense of loving awareness, let the little one feel this,
Mm,
feel free to be abandoned.
mm.
Oh, I feel terrified.
Oh,
Okay, we allow the terror. Let
yeah.
me feel, I feel like I'll be dropped. I'll feel like I'll be nothing.
Mm,
Oh, let me be nothing.
mm.
Let me be dropped. And what we discover
Wow.
is that these fears are portals to something much deeper,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
that they're not in the way, that actually they are the way,
Mm,
for us to deepen. So it's not like, oh, my abandoned child is in the way. It's like, no, my abandoned child holds the key unknowingly, you
yes.
know,
Yeah.
to a deeper letting go. And so what happens in terms of the ground is, as we as we allow our shaky ground, our
Yeah.
constructed ground, the ground of contraction,
Mm,
it starts to release, it starts to melt, it starts to open. And it's like, oh my God, you know, there's so much openness here.
yeah.
I've been standing on openness. I am openness
Mm, mm,
itself. I am open awareness.
right.
I took myself as a frightened child, as this, I'm this, right?
Mm,
And that,
mm,
often it takes
yeah.
time for that to unfold,
Yeah.
but increasingly, this is the understanding, and the whole system settles, and then our relationships are different with people.
Mm,
We're no longer existentially threatened. We
yes.
no longer feel a sense so much of a lack, and you're going to fill me
Mm,
or fulfill me, or
mm,
you're the answer to my
right.
happiness.
Right.
It's no,
Mm,
no, it's no. It's like, I love you.
yeah.
I'm much less offended and much more in a position of,
Yeah.
let's have the conversation. Let's
Yes.
let's let's share. Let's find out what's true. And
Yeah.
very
Mm,
often, with that
mm,
openness,
yeah.
some way forward will present itself.
Yeah. I love that. Let's find out what's true. There's something about that that really, yeah, truth has been my guiding principle. What is true about this? And thank you for saying all that. Yeah, you're about to say something,
Well,
John.
I mean, that's really important. I
Yeah.
mean, like, what is true? It seems like kind of such a simple question, but
Yes.
like you say, your life has been oriented to this. And I would say that was true for people who are sincere spiritual seekers,
Yeah.
whether they know it or not. This is really the guiding light. You
Mm.
know, what is really true?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is really true? And it's such a simple question, but if we actually sit with it, like, what's really true here? Not what my mind thinks,
Mm.
like,
Yes.
not going to the mind, but like,
Yeah.
what's a deeper knowing here? That really just opens up so much, whether it's about our work, about our relationship, about our true nature.
Right.
Um, there's a When we start to open that door, to not ordinary thinking, but not the strategic mind so much, but our
Mm.
deeper knowing, which
Mm.
is more intuitive and
Right.
direct and
Mm.
spontaneous and surprising, right?
Mm.
About which you know and love so much,
Yes.
right? Right? It's like things start to open. The
Yes.
surprising responses come,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, liberating responses,
Mm.
enlivening responses.
Mm.
So there's a whole shift from relying on ordinary strategic mind, which is useful and
Yeah.
good, but as they say, more like a good servant but a poor master,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To
And it
the
is.
to the heart of awareness, right?
Yes.
And the ground of awareness that becomes
Mm.
more and more our source from
Yeah.
which to live. And then the mind can figure out how to translate it, how to make it work on a practical level. But the
Right.
mind, being able to see
Mm.
the limits of the mind, recognize it's a beautiful tool, powerful tool, essential tool. It's a tool,
It's a
right?
tool. Yeah.
It's a tool, and it's to be used from by something deeper, by loving awareness, by heart wisdom.
Mm.
And if
Yeah.
we don't connect with that,
Mm.
the mind becomes destructive,
True.
right?
It's so
And
true.
we see that collectively.
So true.
We have so much knowledge and
Yeah.
so much about in terms of real heart wisdom. We don't know how to use it properly.
Yes.
So we destroy the environment, and we
Mm.
create division
Yeah.
within ourselves and between ourselves. We go to war.
Yeah.
We ravage the environment. We act in a truly insane way.
Right. Oh,
So this
yeah.
is this is a shift, not just for
Mm.
personal healing, but this is something that collectively we need to do as humans if we're
Right.
not going to self-destruct.
Mm. Mm. So true, John. So true. Yeah, I love that. There's a Sounds True. That's the name of the
Hmm.
podcast. Yeah, beautifully kind of
Publishers, Sound True
titled. Yeah, I
Publishers.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah, Tammy Simons
yeah. She's very clear.
organization.
Yeah,
She
she's.
is very clear,
Yeah, I love
and
her
and,
question.
and very intuitive. Yeah, one of the best
Mm.
interviewers
Yeah,
around.
I know. I'm like, I want to study for her, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, 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 I'm not an interviewer. I just love sharing space and sacred space with others. So
Right.
I
No,
don't.
you have your own way, right?
Yes, but yeah, she's beautiful. So I was about to say the heart of awareness. Yeah, going back to the heart.
Hmm.
But there's something about injustice that really, you see, that's another, I don't know, is that a projection? But that's something that I kind of have a hard time with that still. When I see, the mistreat of animals and children, and people trying to kind of take advantage of innocence, of our own
Hmm.
innocence of our hearts when we do
Hmm.
something with out of purity, and then
Hmm.
so what would you say to that? What do you just suggest?
It's, well, we're deeply wired as human beings to react to injustice or perceived injustice. And of
Yeah.
course, it's important to distinguish between the two, actual
Uh,
injustice and perceived injustice, because
yes.
as a separate self, often we're perceiving, I've been treated unjustly,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
it's kind of me. It's about me, right?
So that's always good to take a look at, like, what's my
that's
part,
that's true.
so
Yeah.
before we go into victim and
Uh-huh.
it's been unjust. But
Yeah.
that being said,
Yeah.
if we're have that kind of vulnerability and honesty and clarity with
Yes.
ourselves, where we
Yes.
look at our own side, we're willing to see our flaws and limitations, and those will always be there. It doesn't matter
Mm,
how awake we are as a human being.
right.
We
Right.
have our blind spots. We're
Oh
always
yeah.
learning. We misperceive. We can be corrected.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's a humility there. So I
Yes.
think I think that's very important, not to go into fight mode with reality
Yeah.
immediately, but actually to look, in ways that we may be contributing
Right.
to injustice, even if we're unjust towards ourselves in terms of our thinking,
Mm,
like our
mm,
judgments.
true.
In fact, any kind of self judgment is
Uh,
being unjust to ourselves.
mm,
It's a
right.
kind of violence, really, because
Um,
we're actually, it always creates division, you
mm,
know
true.
it's a subtle or not so subtle form of our self-talk, our self-thoughts can be
Yeah.
very violent, and often then we project that onto others unknowingly, right?
Yeah.
So until we actually
Mm,
work with our
mm,
own self-judgments, our own lack of self-acceptance, our
mm,
own lack of
mhm.
self-love, we're projecting it out,
That's
and
true.
you're the one who's not loving and
So
accepting,
true.
and
Yeah.
that finger, right? But as we know, the
The
three
three.
the three are pointing back.
Yes.
So we do our due diligence. Okay, with that,
Yes. Yeah.
there's a humility, there's a willingness to look at our own material. That said,
Yeah.
still collectively, we're dealing with tremendous ignorance. A lack of, why would we mistreat anyone? Why would we, why would we inflict harm on any innocent being, on any creature? It has to be lack of love, lack of understanding, lack of attunement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very painful to witness that.
Right. Right.
That's just the nature of the heart. It's
Mm,
like when we see a child abused,
yeah.
you know it's really painful.
Oh
If we
yeah.
see an animal abused, if we see if we see genocide, right?
Mm,
It's very disturbing to the
it
heart. It can
is.
be even overwhelming. We can
Right.
even shut down because it's too
Uh,
much.
uh,
So one of the important points here is,
yeah.
I think there is a natural sense of fairness and justice, that, and as we do our own due diligence, we more and more live from that, and we support systems that support that economically, politically, systems that are more just, that,
Yeah.
like, we have
Mm,
such an unjust economic system now,
yes.
huge concentrations of wealth among a small number of people.
Yeah.
You have whatever, 50 billionaires have half the wealth of the planet as,
Yes.
as the other half, and this creates tremendous disturbance in the
Right.
field and tremendous resentment. It's just profoundly unfair, and it's felt on some level, and it creates distress and disturbance. And so social justice is important. People are marginalized because what? Of their gender, of the color of their skin, of the language that they speak,
Yeah.
all of that is based on that prejudice, on ignorance, right?
Yes. Yeah.
On some kind of mental,
Yeah.
very narrow, rigid conditioning.
Yeah.
So all of that, we look to it at ourselves, and then how to work with that in others.
Yeah.
It's like to
Mm.
remember when we are with someone who's locked in a very rigid point of view,
Yeah.
that that's a defense, and
Yeah.
who they are is veiled behind that. And to be able to
Mm.
connect with that, even if it's silent, it's like connect with the heart of the other
Mm.
first,
Mm. Mm.
in conversation. So we're not doing violence. So we're
Mm.
not in the cycle of violence. Then
Mm.
we try to have the conversation, right? With
Mm.
if we
Yeah.
need it, if we can have the conversation. So there's one other point here
Wow.
too, which is the depth of the heart. It's distressing. Injustice is just distressing to the
Yeah.
human heart, and there is so much of it. As our heart opens, we feel it more collectively.
Yes.
If you're sensitive to the animals, if you're sensitive to the
Yeah.
biosphere, which I think some of us are, which I think you are,
Oh, yeah.
you feel it, and it's distressing, and it's distressing to me as well.
Yes. Yeah.
However, there is
Yeah.
this loving awareness that's universal, and the more that we're able to resource ourselves, open to this, feel it, it's like, that is able to hold it. It's too
Mm.
much for any individual
Oh,
to,
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
But we can actually rest back and feel that that too is held. And that allows us not to get paralyzed and overwhelmed, but to
Right.
actually stay focused on, okay, what's true here? In what way in my life can
Yeah.
I help creatively respond
Mm.
rather than
Mm.
reactively?
Mm. Mm.
And that's a very challenging question, right?
Yes.
And whatever we do as a healer, as a podcaster, as a writer, as a teacher, as a mother,
Mm.
as a business person, as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, as a politician, as a
Yeah.
whatever, as a warrior, as a caretaker,
Mm.
how can we step
Mm.
into this even more deeply, even more heartfully,
Yeah.
and do our part, because we all have our part to play. We
Yes.
don't wait for someone else to do it. We
Mm.
don't collapse because it's so big. It's
Mm.
like, okay, how is life moving here, to support the unfolding of a natural sense of justice
Right.
in our lives, a natural sense of
Uh,
fairness,
uh,
and a sense of respect, a
yeah.
sense of, you know, of the sacred,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So we don't do the me and
Mm.
you.
Right.
We're back to duality.
Yes.
Duality is the fundamental ignorance,
Yes.
the us and them,
Yes.
like the sense of the separate self.
Yeah.
To not fall into that,
Mm.
but to actually fall
Mm.
beneath that
Mm.
and begin to work with it in a different way.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So much of this beautiful wisdom. To me, it's timeless wisdom. Everything you're saying. It's again, it's that song, that melody that kind of carries me. Yeah, through this. Yeah, some of us are too sensitive, and I think I'm one of them. So maybe that's why I kind of went into the non-duality, and it was just called me as something that was necessary.
Well, this is,
Just
this
yeah.
is the interesting thing about spirituality and sensitive people, and particularly when we feel like this is a very harsh,
Mm,
unwelcoming, dangerous place to be,
yeah.
and we have a sensitivity. There is another dimension. There is a spiritual dimension
Yeah.
that is much kinder, much
Mm.
safer, much more luminous in this
Yeah. Tell
dense,
me about it.
dense and difficult plane. And so there's something genuine in that
Mm,
recognition, and
yeah.
there's something avoidant in it also. And
Mm,
so you see this in a lot of spiritual
yes.
teachings and
Bypassing.
teachers,
Yeah.
right? The
Mm,
bypass, right?
mm.
It's like to avoid, a fancy word for avoidance,
Oh yeah.
right? It's like this is too difficult. I can't face it.
Yeah.
So very often, and I could see a little bit of that in my own spiritual search, some like let's get this cycle of incarnating over with, and
Yes.
then I began to realize what I was looking for, you know, first with more transcendental
Mm,
understanding,
yeah.
is actually right here, embedded right in the core of
Mm,
this moment and
mm,
this person and that person, and
mm,
this experience of life. And that's been that's been an ongoing revelation. I would say the immanence of spirit. And so spirit is no longer something about transcending.
mm.
It's you almost said not dual instead of non-dual, like
Yeah, no,
the formless, it's like,
yes,
so it's like formless is beautiful,
yeah,
but what about form? You know,
yeah,
what about form? What
mm,
about living this,
yeah,
really in a very
mm,
profound and intimate way,
right,
um,
right, right,
in a way that, coming back to alignment,
mm,
uh, that we actually feel in the core of our body. This is interesting.
yeah,
Like in this awakening process, we discover this kind of open, empty, luminous core,
mm,
and through which life, an essential life, moves.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's the essential alignment, there's the essential aliveness, there's a
yeah,
feeling of flow, there's a feeling of something much greater moving through us. And we
mm,
don't get confused, we don't get inflated, think like,
right, yeah,
I'm the second coming, or I have
yes,
a sacred mission. It's no, it's like
mm,
there's a humility there. It's
mm,
like there's an emptying out and an
yeah,
opening up
mm,
to something essential, something
yeah,
essentially alive and
yeah,
true,
yeah,
and
yeah,
animating, that
yeah,
we sense and feel in the core of our body, and we feel it in others as well. That's the
yeah,
important thing. It's like, okay, same here as there, right?
right,
That
right,
same aliveness, and that allows for an intimacy,
mm,
right? Not
yeah,
talking about,
true,
not talking, not talking about sexuality, talking about,
right, mm-hmm.
you
Oh
know
yeah,
just closeness, non-separateness
yes,
ultimately,
right, one
essential.
already, yeah,
It's all one,
unity,
and
yeah,
it's a cliche, right? But the cliche is there for a reason,
mm,
because many people have discovered this and are discovering
yeah,
this essential non-separateness, right?
right,
This is the teaching you've been following. You
right,
follow the Upanishads, non-dual
yes,
teaching. This
yeah,
is what these teachings are pointing to, and
yeah,
others have an implicit non-dual emphasis. Many contemplative traditions,
yeah, yeah,
Christian and Buddhist and whatever, and
yeah,
people have spontaneous openings to this,
yeah,
right? Although often they're, we close down again,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
but we've seen something,
mm,
the veil has parted,
yeah,
and there's a deeper sense of, oh my God, oh my God,
yeah,
right?
mm,
Not separate as I have thought.
no, yeah,
Right, there is this
yeah,
profound intimacy with the whole of life. I think we're here as human beings to discover this and live this, and as much as possible.
yes, yes, yes. I usually say a billion times, a billion yes to that. Yeah, that's really the, like you
It's an
said,
ongoing, yeah, it's an ongoing
yeah,
yes.
it is. Right, right. And that's, if we can uphold that, it's holding that space, right? For that ongoing yes. Every time the conditioned mind comes in with, oh, you just pissed me off. There's injustice here with this, that. And then you kind of trying to, yeah, without trying, because I think the more, I love the Tao too. I've studied Taoism for a while.
Uh-huh.
I think the more we try, the harder it becomes too. It's
Well,
almost like,
it's
yeah,
true.
it's
It's not about efforting. I mean, there can
kind
be,
of.
it's an interesting question, the role of effort. And I think when one begins a spiritual practice, let's say like meditation or listening or whatever that form it may take,
Yeah,
there will be some effort, to kind of
yeah,
find a time to sit and be quiet or do
right,
whatever your practice is. But after a while, effort gets in the way. You realize,
right, right.
who's doing this anyway? Who's trying to
Mhm.
get somewhere? And is
Mm.
it about getting somewhere?
Yes.
Because this is what when I started to meditate, it was a long time ago, 55 years ago, it was TM, they said effortless repetition of the mantra, mental repetition. But there was still someone who was focusing and someone who was
Yes.
trying to get somewhere. And,
Yes.
it took a while to see, oh, wait, there's still an efforting despite the apparent effortlessness.
Yes. Yeah.
So we begin to realize, okay, so it's not about efforting. What is it about? It's not about forgetting either.
Yeah.
It's much more of a kind of a listening and a
Yeah.
tuning,
Uh,
right? I find, and there's more
mm,
and more spontaneity to it. And so when we
mm,
find ourselves off the mark in a reaction,
yeah.
that becomes a pointer. Oh, I'm off the mark. No, not judging, but oh, I'm in reaction. Then curiosity, inquiry.
Mm,
Oh, what's going on? What am I really feeling?
yes.
Oh, I'm angry. Oh, I'm
Yes.
hurt. Oh, I'm really
Yeah.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they misunderstood. He misunderstood. She misunderstood.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
then we start looking, and that brings us back to ourself.
Yeah. It goes back to that truth that you were asking that question. What is true here? That's what I do
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
often when the
Hmm.
mind starts to, the conditions they start to set in.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm very
that's right.
aware of that question. Yeah. What's true here? What's true here? And another
And,
thing that I,
and one way I also reframe that question is, what is my deepest knowing? Now that's an
yeah,
interest.
love that
That's a
too.
question. I've been playing with self-inquiry and inquiry for
Yes.
decades. I've
Yeah.
studied with Byron Katie, studied Ramanas who are what am I,
Yeah.
various Buddhist meditations.
Yeah.
This kind of formulation,
Yeah.
like what's true or what's the truth, or what is my deepest knowing? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Is it true? Evokes a different yes, kind of a binary response, yes
Yeah.
or
Yes
no.
or no.
But
Hmm.
what is the truth? Or what is true, or what is my deepest knowing?
Yes.
That evokes a
I love
different
that.
level. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of an art to it, you know,
Mm.
to, as I said before, not to go to the mind
Right.
for an answer, but to kind of live with a question that you really care
Mm.
about. You
Right.
sit with it. You don't hammer away with it. You drop it in like a pebble on a
Mm.
pond, and you just kind
Mm.
of feel the ripples. You feel what's evoked. There's not like a
Right.
right answer. There's no right answer, but it's like,
Right.
what response does this evoke from the depths? And
Right.
now we're entering into communication
Mm.
with really the core of who we are.
Right.
We're starting in a way a conversation, a
Right.
living conversation with our depths.
Right.
And then when responses begin to come, sometimes quite, some may be obvious, some may be quite surprising, you know,
Yes. Yes.
we let them in. That's very important. It's like, okay, this
Yeah.
is a gift from the gods, this knowing. Like, what if I let this in? I just breathe and let in what comes. That's where transformation happens. That's
Right.
where we come into alignment and congruence with ourself, our
Yes.
deeper self.
I love that question. Right. That's one that I'll add that one if I can remember without trying too hard.
What is
I
my
can
deepest
remember.
knowing?
Yes.
Yeah.
What my deepest knowing. Yes. One of the things that I noticed, I observed that this body mind kind of follows as that essence, natural essence, that when I am with somebody, with anyone, there's something about their bodies that kind of translates it into innocence. Every time I see a body, not my own body, and then other bodies, all kinds, there's innocence in it. So
Mm,
immediately that kind of puts me in that loving,
that's
compassionate
beautiful. That's
field
beautiful.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
very
one of the things. Yeah, that I.
that's a beautiful intuitive perception because the mind is less innocent, isn't it? It's more
Yeah.
highly conditioned.
Oh yeah.
But the body is much, in a way, much simpler, much more
Yeah.
direct.
Oh
It's
yeah.
more like,
Yeah.
more like a child in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
I'm like a baby.
kind of like a baby, and
Yeah.
just kind of seeing the body evokes that for you,
It
right?
does, isn't it funny? Yeah, it
That's
does.
very, yeah. I've never heard anyone describe it just like that, but I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and maybe that's why also even the sexually, it's something that I'm just bringing this up. It's not something that I'm comfortable with. It's almost like unless it's really like almost nurturing and it's funny how it has been in my life, my entire life.
Oh,
So that's
well,
how it's a
this is an
reverence for the body. Yeah,
reverence for the body, like
yeah,
the
right.
whole body, the innocence
The
of the body,
sacredness of it.
the
Yeah, right.
sacredness of the body. And so
Yeah.
sexuality so often is not lovemaking, right?
Right.
It's about pleasure
Right.
taking,
Yes.
pleasure taking,
Yes.
having some
Yeah.
experience and orgasm or whatever.
Yeah.
But
And
there is, yeah, but actually there's a whole nother dimension, of contact physically that's
mm,
possible, where the
mm,
whole body and the innocence of the body is
yeah.
engaged. That really is lovemaking,
Yeah.
right? It
Mm,
really is about the sharing of love and the expression of love. And that's very
mm.
beautiful. That's a beautiful potential. And I hear that's what you're sensitive to.
Yes. Yeah. And then it feels to me, I sense that this body, what I have done with that, it's like some people call like sexual energies, whatever it is, because it is natural. Everything is natural in this life, and it's the what creates more life, right? And since more bodies here and more life. But then I apply that sort of energy into creativity. So it's very
Hmm.
easy for me every time the conditioned mind sets in with all these fears and all. I just come up with something creative to just it's kind of, I just noticed how easy it is to be creative, for me to be creative. I played the guitar, I sang, I painted, I mean anything. Like I would, that energy would just go on doing, mm,
Well, it
perhaps for
is.
that reason, I don't know, trying to
Yeah, I
transmute.
mean, what is interesting is sexuality and sensuality is part of a larger life force of eros. Eros is really life force,
Yes, right.
life giving,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it is fundamentally creative, right?
Yeah.
Fundamentally creative.
Yeah.
Like this is an important part that
Yeah.
is often underemphasized in
Talk.
particularly more renunciate spiritual
Yes.
traditions,
Yeah.
right? It's
Don't
more
talk
about,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
Not even mention. Yeah.
relationships, sexuality, the body. It's more like see it
Yeah.
all as impermanent.
Yeah.
See it as
Impure.
all
Yeah.
as empty.
Yeah.
And just identify yourself with formlessness, with
Right.
emptiness, with, you know.
Right. Right.
Yet, this too is an expression of
Mm,
that, isn't it?
mm,
It is a sacred
yeah.
expression.
Yeah.
Now, again, that can be a nice thought, but not a living experience. To
Right.
be a living experience requires that we actually be in touch with our body, right?
Yes.
In a very deep way, that we be intimate
Yeah.
with our body,
Yeah.
right? And not relate to our body from our head,
Mm,
but actually from, and this is a whole process for people.
yeah.
We're so cut off,
Yeah.
and I'm sure
Yeah.
you experience this, and the people that you work with, we're so conditioned in the Western culture
Yeah.
to rely on our thinking, our analysis, our problem solving,
Yes.
and we tend to identify with our head anyway because of our eyes and ears and our nose, our
Right.
sensory organ.
Yeah.
But this whole process of discovering the immanence of
Mm,
spirit in the
mm,
core of the body
mm.
requires attention to drop down and
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
down and in. It's like a settling here, right in the very
Yeah.
core
Yeah.
of where we are.
Yeah.
So spirituality, instead of being an up and out process,
Yeah.
much more is a down and in.
Yeah.
And as it is, it's more and more mature, and more human, right? It's more
Mm,
more
mm,
integrated. So you
mm.
don't get teachers that are just, doing that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then acting out down here, you know,
Yes.
abusing their students in one way or
Right.
another,
That happens.
which it
Yeah. Right.
happens a lot, doesn't it?
That's sad.
Yeah, there's that kind of split. And so
Yes.
all of this is very relevant
Yeah.
to an embodied
Mm,
spiritual life, and
mm.
to an ability to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and honest. This is
Yeah.
where honesty and vulnerability are so important. Like we stop pretending or trying to be something, right?
Mm.
And we let ourselves be as we are,
Yeah.
intimately, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
and with kindness. And
Yeah.
that allows a flowering of this human experience. So the essence can radiate through
Yeah.
our ordinary human lives. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful life.
Yes,
That's a
yes,
beautiful
yes,
life.
yes, yeah. Thank you again for saying that. We're almost at the end. God, I could talk to you forever, huh? Basically, for ages.
We could go on for a while. There's
Yeah,
a good flow here. Yeah.
yes, it'd be amazing to meet again. But yes, I met another teacher from spiritual teacher from. He lives in Costa Rica, and for some reason, listening to you kind of reminded me of him too, because he's very much into embodied spirituality. So he does that for a living, and that's what is everything's what he does is about. And then they get really to the point of sweat and really be in touch with the body in a very powerful way. And
Hmm.
he that transmission was because I usually, because I'm very sensitive. My whole body's listening and being to you,
That's
like
right.
in
Our,
whoever
our
I,
whole body
yeah,
listens. Yes.
right. I'm listening with my entire body being. Then
Hmm.
I remember that his presence never left me. There's something about the transmission of the truth, because we were just having the conversation about body, about embodiment and spirituality, but something about him just stayed. That core of the embodiment seemed like he was embodying that in that very moment too, talking to me here. that I
Well, I would
felt.
hope
He
so.
does a very physical work. It's very physical what he does, but it's less intellectual, although he's very, very clear too, but
Uh-huh.
he's very
Hmm.
physical in essence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny how these things can be embodied to the point of being transmitted even
Well,
like this.
it,
Isn't that incredible?
absolutely. Here we are, whatever, 3 hours apart. You're in
Yeah.
Hawaii, I'm in California. Doesn't matter, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
It's like
I feel
we're
it.
looking at each other through a screen. For me, it's like a window. You're
Yeah.
just sitting on the other side of the
Yeah, I like
window.
that.
You're like 3 feet away, not
Yeah.
3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So what that is, the transmission,
Yeah.
so-called, is really resonance. It's like
Mm.
in you, you're
Mm.
resonating with that in him, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that listening. Like the body's I often liken it to a musical instrument. When it's
Yeah.
well tuned,
Yeah.
or reasonably well tuned, then it's resonating. It's
Mm.
resonating with others, it's resonating with the environment, or it's not, and we can
Right.
feel that.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And so the
Yes.
dissonance is as important as the resonance. You
Yeah.
may have had guests
Mm.
on, that you didn't feel that
Oh,
with, or
yes. Yeah.
you felt that
Mhm.
less with, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So
Yes.
often we think of transmission as somehow energies are given
Yeah.
or transferred from one to another.
Right.
I don't, and that could happen. That can happen.
Right.
Certain teachers work that way,
Yes. I have. Yeah. I
but
have felt that too. Yeah.
yeah, there is that kind of Shakti transmission.
Right.
But really, I think the core of the transmission, so called, is really resonance. It's like
Mm.
that in us, which
Yeah.
knows the truth,
Mm.
resonates with that
Mm. Mm.
in the other that is
Mm.
expressing it. And
Yeah.
the less we're talking about it and the more we're speaking from it
Right.
and
Yeah.
as it,
Yeah.
the stronger the sharing, call it sharing, will be.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
that's an important part of why we come together in groups. That can
Yeah.
be an important part of being with a guide that we
Yeah.
resonate with and that we trust
Mm.
and is trustworthy.
Right.
That's important. So for me, guides have been important, at a certain point, and after a certain point, they
Mm.
weren't,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
had a temporary and provisional value. And
Yes.
Jean Klein, Adyashanti both
Oh.
played critical roles,
Mm.
and both in as much as about their speaking as in the silence. You know,
Mm. Mm.
so
Yeah.
this sharing happens wordlessly too.
Yes.
Hopefully the words are congruent with it, but
Right.
it's deep. It's deeper than words. And you were feeling that with this fellow from Costa Rica. It sounds like,
Yes. Yeah. And I'm.
and certain people resonate differently. It's like when
Yes.
I,
Right.
when I met Jean Klein, there was an immediate resonance. I would
Mm.
tell all my friends, they would
Mm.
come and they say, "I don't get it." You know,
Yeah. Right. See. Yeah.
so there was
Yeah.
something about this one and that one
Mm.
where it didn't mean that there was something
Mm.
wrong. It's just like
Yeah.
there was a particular way that we resonate with different individuals, and that's
Yes.
important. That's maybe they're friends, maybe they're partners, maybe they're teachers, who
Right.
knows, but that's important to listen to.
Right. Yeah. That's with you too. Yeah. There's my body has been like almost like wanted to dance, move, and that's it doesn't do that as often. With some people, yes, because the same resonance, right? It's
That's
felt
right.
here. And then it
Yeah,
wants to move. It's not like
right.
stiff.
Well,
Yeah.
wavelength, right?
Yeah. It's
this
like
this is
beautiful.
this is the
Yeah.
dynamic nature.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like form wants to move, form wants to
Yes. Oh,
vibrate, form wants to
yeah. Mm,
express
yeah. Look at
what's
nature,
essential.
right, John? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nature. The water. Oh
Absolutely.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Tell me about it.
ocean. Yeah.
So it has been amazing, amazingly beautiful and enlightening and resonant to talk to you. Thank you. It's the
Oh.
heart again. The heart
Mhm.
opens, and yeah, something really happens when we are in touch with truth. So
That's
thank
it.
you. Yeah, thank you
Oh,
for
you're
being that.
welcome. It's
Yeah,
been it's
thank you.
been really really enjoyable to have this conversation, feel this
Uh,
connection.
Yes, and I apologize for not going as deep. I have so many notes here about your book. You have no idea. It's takeaways. I have the quotes. Presence lives on. I mean, I have the embodiment spirit part 3. I really like that. Body and spirit. That's one of my favorite. You said. So I would love to continue the conversation one of these days. Who knows? Maybe in person. Maybe I'll go to one of your retreats. You come to Kauai. You never know. I mean, I'm just so
Okay.
open to these things, and that's what I live for. So
Beautiful.
it's about to happen
Mm.
somehow, someday it will happen in the sense of us meeting with this physically, but it's almost like not physically in a way. We are so kind of like you saying, body and the higher ground. It's so well aligned that we become this beautiful resonance of truth
Yes.
in the human body. And that's what
Yes.
I'm looking to do, an experiment like that with people that I have resonated so my entire being so much that I would love to have them in person so other people could feel what
Mm-hmm.
truth is like, what
Mm-hmm.
truth feels like. That's what I really, it's not type of an experiment that I would love to kind of do, because I met way too many people that have inspired like my whole being, the core of being, like the truth. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that hopefully they will hold on kind of to that. They still holding on to that presence. And one of these days we'll meet here. It might be a year from now, 2, 3, who knows? But that's I
That
don't
would be
know. That's
lovely.
something that I would love to do. It's fun. It's like a joyful thing. It
It
would be
is joyful.
right to do something
It
like that.
is very
So
much so.
I want to mention your website. So listeningfromsilence.com. It will be on the podcast notes. And also you have your offerings, retreats, course in groups, residential retreats. You have online courses, online meditative inquiry group, and also engaged non-duality. Did I miss anything, John?
No, that's it.
Perfect. Would you like to end this conversation with a message, with anything? I'm wondering
Oh,
if you have
I'll
any.
mention one thing that's more time specific.
Yeah.
So with the book, Your Deepest Ground,
Mm,
I'm in the middle of offering a free book group that meets
okay.
once a month.
Yes.
So you can find out about that through my website. But
Website.
we meet once a month and talk about different chapters as well. But yeah, no, you've covered it. Well, in a way, it's
I'm
much more
doing so.
fun. It's
It
more
is. I
it's
have to
more fun
say.
than kind of going through the book,
Yes.
just
I
to
had
have
all
the
that
living.
linear. Yeah. I'm
Right.
not linear in any way. So I'm like, oh my
No.
God, am I going to go through? But sometimes, depending on the guest, of course, we go through everything because that's, yes, I'm very
So
open. Yeah. To,
I, I
so
get that impression.
yeah, thank you so much for being open to, yeah, open to
You're very
life.
welcome. A
And
pleasure.
then we'll be in touch again, John. Take good care of your beautiful self for now, and we'll be in touch
Um,
again. Yeah.
you
Bye for
too.
now, my
Thanks for
dear.
having me.
Yeah. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, John.